Perry sort of getting frustrated by his association with Harry and Meghan, in particular Meghan, because he had a very dismissive and I would argue very undiplomatic
given that role. Brittany from the Royal News Network, this was very shocking and very embarrassing.
Well, and I can't help but think, did Tyler never think this would ever come up in a conversation, especially with a British public? I think Tyler Perry's antagonism towards the question is based off a false assumption that Meghan Markle has given him, because Meghan Markle has tried time and time again. Tim, I haven't really seen that much of his stuff. Like, he did the Medea franchise and a whole bunch of other things, but not all the things that are really, you could say, to my taste. So I'm not really super familiar with his work. I've seen him in a thing or two, but it's not really.
Breaking news: the royal fairy tale has officially turned into a royal nightmare. Late last night, a single leak from Tyler Perry didn't just break the internet, it shook the British monarchy to its core. What was once sold to the world as a painful love story has exploded into a storm of hidden deals, secret strategies, and betrayal so deep it's now tearing through the palace walls like wildfire. Inside sources reveal that Meghan and Harry's so-called escape wasn't some romantic rebellion, it was a calculated operation. And the center of it all? Tyler Perry's Beverly Hills mansion, not a sanctuary, but a command center. Cameras, scripts, PR strategies. Everything was planned, down to the tears Meghan would cry on Oprah Winfrey's couch. But then, they made one mistake. They tried to erase Tyler Perry. And that's when the entire castle started to burn. Tonight, the palace is in panic. Officials are meeting behind closed doors. Rumors say more footage, never-before-seen clips, recordings, messages, is locked in Perry's vault. If those files drop, this isn't just scandal, it's royal annihilation. The Sussex brand, once untouchable, is crumbling before the world's eyes. Former allies have gone silent. Brands have backed out. And behind the Golden Palace doors, there's fear. Fear that the truth might finally rip the crown apart. This isn't a love story anymore. This is war, a media war. And the first casualty might just be the royal family itself. The royal family is in full-scale panic mode tonight. What began as whispers in the shadows has exploded into a scandal that could tear apart the very foundation of the monarchy. A single man, Tyler Perry, has shattered years of carefully crafted fairy tales with a few devastating words and one chilling leak. No one saw the storm coming. Not the palace. Not the press. Not even Meghan and Harry themselves. For years, their story was painted like a tragic romance, two brave souls escaping the cold iron grip of royal duty for a new life in sunny California. But now, insiders are calling it what it really was, a calculated betrayal, scripted down to the last tier. Sources close to Perry claim his Beverly Hills mansion wasn't a safe haven. It was a control room. Cameras, scripts, PR strategies, media drills. Every shot, every headline, every raw moment the world saw, it was all built inside those golden walls. And at the center of it all, Meghan Markle, not as a victim, but as a producer of her own royal spectacle. And then came the moment that changed everything. Meghan's team tried to erase Perry from their glossy narrative, deleting photos, cutting mentions, scrubbing history like he never existed. They thought they could bury the man who held their secrets. They were wrong. Dead wrong. Perry didn't run to the press. He didn't scream online. He pressed play. The leak hit the internet like a thunderclap. One video, just one, showing private strategy sessions, lighting setups, whispered plans to paint the palace as the ultimate villain. Within minutes, hashtags detonated across the globe. Hashtag Perry receipts, hashtag royal scam, hashtag Meghan exposed. The fairy tale cracked. The carefully built image Meghan and Harry had spent years protecting shattered like glass. Suddenly, the palace wasn't the villain anymore. The couple was. And Tyler Perry? He was the man with the match that lit the royal fire. Behind the palace gates, chaos. Emergency meetings. Phones ringing nonstop. Advisors whispering that if Perry drops the rest of what he has, the secret recordings, the backroom deals, the late-night PR calls, it won't just embarrass the royal family. It will bring it to its knees. Insiders say Meghan's Montecito mansion turned into a war room overnight. No candles, no soft yoga music, just fear. She was screaming at her team. How did this get out? Panic spread like poison. Her PR advisors scrambled to push soft healing content, cozy family pictures, fake serenity posts, carefully staged smiles. But it didn't work this time. The world had already seen behind the curtain. And then came the silence. That terrifying silence from the palace. No statements, no denials, no royal smiles. Only locked doors and frantic whispers. Why? Because Perry's leak wasn't some tabloid gossip. It was real. Time-stamped. Lawyer-checked. Bulletproof. What makes this even more explosive is what insiders claim Perry still has. Rumors say he recorded everything. High-level meetings, private calls, even Meghan's exact words on how to flip the narrative against the royal family. If those files drop, this won't be a scandal. It will be an execution. Meanwhile, brands that once fought to be attached to the Sussex name are pulling back. Influencers who built their online empires defending Meghan have gone quiet. Even celebrity friends have begun to disappear from the spotlight. The fairy tale is bleeding. And the monarchy is watching not with anger, but with calculated terror. In the streets of London, crowds have gathered. Some chant in support. Others demand answers. On social media, timelines are a war zone. No one knows what Perry will do next, but everyone knows one thing. This is only the beginning. The royal family has survived wars, betrayals, and centuries of scandal. But never before has a story been so polished, then burned to the ground by the very man they trusted. This isn't about love anymore. This is power. This is exposure. This is the beginning of the end. Just when the world thought the storm had peaked, Tyler Perry struck again. The second leak has landed, and this time, it's not just a spark. It's a detonation. The footage dropped in the early hours of the morning. No warning. No explanation. No hashtags needed. The clip spoke for itself, a chilling, high-quality recording of Meghan and Harry's private strategy meetings. Not scripted fairy tales. Not carefully lit interviews. This was raw, calculating, cold. In the video, Meghan can be heard discussing how every move they make must be cinematic. Advisors talk about camera angles, lighting, delivery. A PR consultant lays out timelines of when certain emotional moments should go public to trigger sympathy waves. They even reference upcoming interviews, calling them our weapon against the crown. Within seconds of the leak, the internet erupted. Millions watched in silence. Then came the explosion. People weren't whispering anymore. They were screaming. "We've been manipulated," one viral tweet said. This wasn't a love story. It was a performance. News channels across the globe cut their regular programming to stream the footage. Anchor after anchor repeated the same phrase. This changes everything. Inside Buckingham Palace, emergency meetings stretched deep into the night. One source described it as the most chaotic scene since Diana's death. Royal aides were seen rushing through the corridors, phones glued to their ears. Even senior royals, usually stone-faced, were said to be visibly shaken. But the most shocking part wasn't the footage itself. It was who leaked it. According to whispers from Hollywood, this wasn't an accident. Perry's team timed the drop like a military operation. Every second, every frame, every reveal was calculated. He didn't just expose a scandal, he declared a war of receipts. Meanwhile, in California, Meghan's Montecito mansion descended into darkness. Witnesses reported black SUVs outside, frantic movements, and PR advisors walking out with files in hand. It wasn't damage control anymore. It was survival mode. An insider claims Meghan broke down in tears, not out of guilt, but out of fear. She wasn't crying because the world saw the truth. She was crying because she knew Perry wasn't done yet. The palace response? Silence. But it was the kind of silence that suffocates. Royal security has reportedly been tightened. Senior officials are working round the clock, tracking leaks, hunting for internal vulnerabilities. There's panic behind those golden gates, the kind that doesn't show on TV. Meanwhile, across London, protesters and royal supporters clash in the streets. Some call Meghan a victim. Others call her the architect of a deception that fooled the world. What was once a romantic fairy tale has become a public trial, with millions as the jury. Brand partners have begun issuing statements, quietly distancing themselves from the Sussex image. Netflix executives are reportedly in closed-door meetings, panicked over upcoming contracts tied to the couple. Spotify insiders hint at reevaluating their commitments. And through it all, Tyler Perry remains silent. No interviews. No press statements. Just quiet, calculated silence. The silence of a man who knows he still has cards to play. Royal sources fear that the final leak, the one Perry has been holding back, could expose the ultimate betrayal. Conversations between Meghan, Harry, and top-level strategists mapping out how to crush the royal brand and rebuild their own empire. If that footage sees daylight, this won't just stain the monarchy, it could rewrite it. For the first time in history, the crown isn't facing enemies outside its walls. It's facing an enemy it once embraced. Trusted. Protected. The illusion has shattered. The fairy tale is over. This is no longer a scandal. This is a royal war. The world woke up to chaos this morning. What many feared has finally happened. Tyler Perry has dropped the final leak, and it's far worse than anyone could have imagined. This wasn't just another clip. It was the smoking gun. The recording that ripped the last thread holding this fairy tale together. At exactly 5 a.m. London time, a private link began spreading through encrypted journalist channels. Minutes later, it went public. The footage is dark, the audio crystal clear. Meghan's voice is unmistakable. Calm. Strategic. She's outlining what insiders are calling a royal breakdown operation. It's not gossip anymore. It's evidence. In the recording, Meghan and Harry are allegedly heard discussing ways to control public sympathy, to weaponize emotion against the crown. One PR consultant suggests how Meghan's pain should look fragile but powerful. Another voice, allegedly Harry's, agrees to follow the strategy, saying, "Once the world sees them as the enemy, we win." The effect was immediate. News channels worldwide cut to emergency broadcasts. Headlines screamed across screens, the Sussex war room exposed. Outside Buckingham Palace, crowds gathered in disbelief. Some cried, some shouted, and some stood frozen, clutching their phones as the audio played on loop. Palace insiders described the reaction inside as nothing short of devastation. Senior royals reportedly locked themselves in private chambers. Guards were repositioned. Legal teams mobilized. It wasn't just scandal anymore, it was war at the heart of the crown. And in California, Meghan's Montecito estate looked like a scene from a political thriller. Multiple black SUVs arrived. PR advisors rushed in and out. One insider claimed Meghan's voice could be heard screaming from inside the mansion. He wasn't supposed to go this far. Meanwhile, Tyler Perry still hasn't spoken publicly. But no one needs his voice anymore. The clips are louder than words. And the timing couldn't be more brutal. Just as the royal family scrambled to contain the second leak, Perry dropped the final blow like a guillotine. Brand partners are in full retreat. Multiple companies have officially announced suspensions of collaborations tied to Meghan and Harry. High-profile friends have gone dark. Even journalists, once loyal to their image, have begun calling this the biggest betrayal in modern royal history. But what shook the world the most wasn't the palace's reaction. It was Harry. According to flight data obtained by independent reporters, Harry boarded a private jet just hours before the leak. Alone. No PR team. No Meghan. Sources say his final words to a close friend were chilling. "I can't stop what's coming." Buckingham Palace is now under 24-hour lockdown. Emergency lights. Restricted access. The Queen's advisors, royal security, and legal teams are reportedly working in a crisis bunker beneath the palace. This is the kind of turmoil the monarchy has never experienced in its modern history. On social media, hashtags like #RoyalCollapse, #SussexScandal, and #PerryFiles are trending in over 40 countries. Live streams outside the palace are pulling in millions of viewers. A global audience is watching this story unravel in real time, like a Netflix series they can't stop watching. Analysts are calling this a turning point. Not just for the royal family, but for the entire image of modern monarchy. Once a symbol of power and mystique, now reduced to a stage for betrayal and strategy. And still, Perry remains silent. No statement, no appearance. Just that final recording echoing through every headline on Earth. This was never just about a family feud. It was about control, power, manipulation. And in the end, the empire built on image was destroyed, not by enemies outside the gates, but by the people who once lived inside them. The crown is bleeding. The fairy tale is dead. And the world is watching it burn. This is how a fairy tale dies. Not with a smile, not with a wave, but with a single leak that burned down an empire. The world watched them rise together, hand in hand, the rebel royals who claimed they were breaking free. But tonight, the world isn't clapping. The world is staring at the ashes. The palace is locked down. Brands have fled. Friends have gone silent. And the royal image, once untouchable, lies shattered on the cold floor of history. No press release can fix this. No soft lighting can hide this. Because once the truth is out, there's no going back. Tyler Perry didn't just drop a bomb. He detonated the entire narrative. He held their secrets, their strategy, their whispered plans, and unleashed it all. The power they once held over the world's sympathy is gone. And somewhere tonight, behind palace walls, a family that ruled for centuries is sitting in silence. They're not just fighting headlines, they're fighting the death of their myth. This isn't a scandal anymore. This is the final chapter of a story written in gold and burned in betrayal. If you felt that shiver down your spine, it's because you just witnessed history unfold. A crown shaken, a legacy questioned, a love story weaponized. Share this story. Let the world know what the cameras never showed you. Because if this can happen behind the palace walls, it can happen anywhere. This is more than drama. This is the moment everything changed.